The movie starts by introducing us to Tom, an attractive detective who doesn't always follow the rules and has a tough persona. Because of his demeanor, he's often chosen for undercover missions. One day, Tom is tasked with capturing 2 South Korean gangsters involved in illegal arms dealing. To take them down, he pretends to be a weapons dealer but brings the wrong weapons, infuriating the gangsters. Worse, he makes an offensive comment about their eyes, causing them to accuse him of racism and attack him. However, Tom lets them do this on purpose to later justify killing them in self-defense. With a plausible reason, Tom heads to the gangsters' lair and engages in a fierce battle, ultimately killing them all. Afterward, he has a drink to calm his nerves and rearranges the scene to make it look like there was a massive gunfight. In reality, Tom easily overpowered the gangsters. While searching the hideout, he discovers 2 South Korean women being held captive. Feeling sympathy for their situation, he frees them since they are in the country illegally. Soon after, Tom's boss, Captain Jack, arrives at the scene. Jack is known for being a strict police officer. Tension rises as Tom's co-workers, feeling resentful, believe he acted selfishly without considering the team's effort. They began making nasty comments, nearly escalating into a fight. Upon witnessing this, Captain Jack intervened and separated everyone. Surprisingly, he commended Tan for his actions. Captain Jack was aware that Tom had tampered with the crime scene, but when he got close to Tom, he detected the smell of alcohol. He instructed Tom to head to the hospital immediately before the prosecutors arrived, explaining that being caught drunk would harm his reputation. While Tom awaited an ambulance, his friend Washington approached him. They were once very close, but Washington had grown to dislike Tom's harsher methods on the job. Washington was also disappointed that Tom had killed all the South Korean gangsters instead of arresting them for trial. The next day, Tom went to the hospital to avoid the reporters. While receiving treatment, Captain James, a member of the internal affairs team that investigates misconduct, approached him. James gave Tom his card and suggested they work together, expressing doubts about members of Tom's unit, especially Captain Jack. After James left, a nurse named Grace, who happened to be Tom's girlfriend, came over. They ended up spending intimate time together right there in the hospital. When Tom returned from the hospital, he faced questions from the internal affairs team about his aggressive actions. Fortunately, he had a reasonable explanation. The next day, he attended a party hosted by Jack to celebrate Jack's promotion. While they were drinking, Tom informed Jack and the others that James was keeping an eye on them. Jack then blamed Washington for their troubles, knowing that Washington had reported his leadership as corrupt. Jack said Washington was angry after being expelled from the unit. Now, Washington aimed to get revenge on Jack, Tom, and their colleagues. Hearing this, Tom wanted to confront Washington, but his friends immediately stopped him. A few days later, Tom decided to follow Washington to scare him but saw something surprising at a convenience store: 2 masked, armed robbers. Tom changed his mind and chose to help Washington instead, despite their differences. Deep inside, he still considered Washington a friend. Initially, Washington thought Tom was there to attack him, leading to a fight between them. But once the robbers entered and started shooting wildly, Tom and Washington hid behind a shelf. Trying to defend themselves, Tom accidentally shot Washington in the shoulder. Tragically, the robbers then killed Washington. The police arrived after hearing the gunfire. Tom started to panic when he realized security cameras had recorded their fight. If James or the prosecutors saw the footage, Tom could be seen as the main suspect. To protect his team, Jack told Tom to destroy the CCTV footage. Without hesitation, Tom took the tape before James and the prosecutors arrived. After the incident, Jack transferred Tom to a different department where he handled complaints, ranging from routine matters to bizarre ones. One day, James visited Tom to discuss Washington's mysterious death. He mentioned Tom's report, which only referred to 2 robbers at the store. However, the forensic team had found evidence of 3 different types of bullets in Washington's body. One of those bullets came from Tom's gun. Now James wanted the CCTV footage. Tom realized James wanted to see if Tom and his team were involved in the murder. Not wanting things to escalate, Tom confessed to Jack about James's suspicions. This infuriated Jack, who angrily barged into James's office. He was furious at James for accusing Tom and the team. During their confrontation, James admitted he didn't like Jack and knew about his underhanded tactics for promotion. In fact, James was aware that Jack had been manipulating his team, including Tom, to become a police commander. The day after they buried Washington following his autopsy, Tom and his team attended the funeral to pay their respects. While there, Tom noticed Washington's wife, Linda, looking distressed. Concerned, he approached her, but Linda refused to speak to him. After returning home from the funeral, Tom encountered Detective Paul, who was now handling the Washington case. To Tom's surprise, Paul revealed that Jack had pressured him to meddle with the investigation into Tom's involvement in the mini-market incident. This frustrated Paul because he had to work to clear Tom's name. Despite this, Tom expressed his desire to assist with the investigation, but Paul dismissed the idea, stating they already had suspects, two men named Ramon and Cortez. Upon discovering this, Tom instructed his colleagues to apprehend the two men. However, his team, especially Jack's assistant Richard, were reluctant to get involved. So, Tom decided to personally confront Jack at his place to talk about Ramon and Cortez. During the discussion, Tom insisted on bringing the two responsible for Washington's death to justice, explaining that despite their differences, he still regarded Washington as a friend. Jack, however, refused to cooperate due to the risk of James finding out. The next day, Paul requested a private conversation with Tom. During their talk, Paul disclosed that Washington had been accused of involvement in illegal activities, including running a drug operation, and was connected to Ramon Cortez. However, their plan went awry, leading to Washington's death. Paul also admitted that James had threatened him with exposing Tom's misdeeds, but Tom was already aware and decided to collaborate with Paul. Later that evening, Tom and Paul teamed up to investigate the case. They started by tracking Ramon and Cortez's last known location. During their search, they encountered a Mexican gang member named Quicks, who fled, raising their suspicions. They chased after him, and Tom managed to catch Quicks by ensnaring him in barbed wire, forcing him to divulge information. Quicks revealed that someone named Grill knew about Ramon and Cortez. Without delay, Tom and Paul headed to Grill's place. Tom quickly drew his gun and ruthlessly interrogated Grill, instilling fear with his aggressive behavior. Paul was shocked by Tom's cruel behavior. Tom threatened Grill to force him to disclose the whereabouts of Ramon and Cortez. After getting the information, Tom temporarily held Grill captive, planning to release him later. The next day, Tom visited Linda, promising her that he would find the culprits. But first, he inquired about the money that Washington had. He told her the police suspected the money was gotten illegally. Linda explained that the money came from selling her house and suspected that Washington was being set up to distract from police corruption. She also revealed that Washington was close to James. Back at the station, Richard approached Tom with evidence concerning Washington's murder. A bullet found in Washington's body matched Tom's firearm. Richard assured Tom that he was no longer a suspect. Eventually, Tom got a call from Grill, mentioning the name Winston, who turned out to be a gangster familiar with the whereabouts of Ramon and Cortez. Tom and Paul quickly arranged to meet Winston. After the meeting, Winston directed them to a house where Ramon and Cortez were supposedly hiding. However, when they arrived, the house was empty. They found multiple bloodstains and a foul odor. Shockingly, Raymond and Cortez were already dead, buried pitifully in the yard, raising Tom's suspicions. This convinced him the two robbers weren't behind Washington's death. He believed the real mastermind had eliminated Raymond and Cortez. To solve this, he planned to ask Winston for help again. That evening, Paul called Tom with news that Winston had identified two gangsters who might be Washington's actual killers. Before going there, Tom visited Linda to apologize for his previous behavior, showing her the CCTV footage from the mini-market to explain what really happened. He promised Linda he'd bring Washington's killers to justice. Tom also confided in Linda about losing his own wife, showing he understood her pain. After this heartfelt moment, he prepared to meet the gangsters Winston mentioned, armed with a weapon. Initially planning to go alone, he eventually agreed when Paul insisted on joining him. Just as Tom was about to leave, James intercepted him, expressing his desire to arrest Tom that night. However, he admitted needing Tom's rough tactics to catch the gangsters. Thus, he allowed Tom to proceed. They met the person Winston had named, either Ebro or Jude. Shortly after Tom took drugs from his shirt pocket, pretending to be interested in joining their business, Jude astutely saw through his facade. Jude then realized Tom's true identity and his mission to seek vengeance against corrupt police officers who were revealed during a confrontation. Winston was killed, and Paul was shot in the neck. Tom and Jude fought back, taking down the corrupt officers, but Tom couldn't save Paul due to his severe injury. Tom then sought help from Grace for his wounds. However, as he watched the news reporting the incident, he suspected he was being set up. Urging Grace to distance herself, Tom was unexpectedly arrested by his colleagues Santos and Dom, who revealed that their Captain Jack was actually behind Washington's murder. Captain Jack was involved in a drug operation with Emperor and Jude, whose business was threatened by Tom's investigation. Jack framed Tom, causing a car crash during an escape attempt. Tom ended up tied and in danger but managed to disarm his captors. Meanwhile, Richard was torturing Linda to obtain CCTV footage as instructed by Jack. Tom was fortunate to arrive at Linda's house just in time. He incapacitated Richard and locked him in the trunk of a car. The next day, Tom confronted Jack at his house, demanding to know why Jack had framed him, despite their long-standing friendship. The conversation escalated into an argument, during which Jack suggested they join forces to cover up various ongoing cases. But Tom had reached his limit and attacked Jack. In the ensuing struggle, Tom managed to handcuff Jack and pointed a gun at him, prepared to finish things. Jack revealed a surprising secret. He had stashed large amounts of money, drugs, and sensitive information about cases involving officials within the walls of his house. He offered to share this wealth for a fresh start. However, Tom, determined to reform and be an honest cop, rejected the offer. He shot Jack, ending his life. In the aftermath, Tom contacted James to gather all the evidence of Jack's crimes. James, it turned out, had intentionally allowed Tom to deal with his corrupt associates to avoid using violence himself. In a show of gratitude, James chose not to arrest Tom. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thanks and see you again soon. Take care.